And we are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media, broadcasting live on the worldwide Coalition Media Network here at the Go Local Live Broadcast Center, deep in the heart of the city we love, Providence, Rhode Island. Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio. On the mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio. And of course, the mothership, CoalitionRadio.us, where one can find links to our YouTube page, our podcast page, and our new Liberty News page, shortly to be renamed Civil Liberty News, where you'll be able to find updates from a variety of organizations that are fighting on behalf of you to maintain and to regain, in some cases, the civil liberties that you've been granted to, well, simply by being here. The next few minutes, we're going to engage in a conversation with someone who I'm just getting to know now, who is a citizen activist who recently ran for the school board of the city of Cranston. My focus is not here to hurl accusations at people, to gin up outrage per se. We are, as we say, outrage porn free. But to point out how politics works in this state. The city of Cranston over the last few years has had its challenges, both with its police department, which was successfully reconstituted, and recently with the question it's been challenged with diversity. When folks are elected to boards, most people feel that they should represent the community which is ruled by or participates in or is understood to be governed by that board. That's simply a reflection of the community at large. These positions should not be seen as centers of power, as accumulating head counts so that one can control the vast, if you will, the vast tentacle and arms of Rhode Island government. And it's certainly clear at this point that we need new voices, particularly given the crisis that our state's education is in. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce, and I want to get this right, Aniece Germain. Did I get that right?
Yes, Aniece Germain, yes.
Okay, I got it right. To the Coalition for the very first time.
Yes, you got it right. But, usually they call me Aniece here because my name is a French name and it has an accent on E. Mm-hmm. It's Aniece. Mm-hmm. But because I lost this accent in English and they call me Aniece. But it's Aniece Germain.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you're a paralegal. I know that you're involved in a number of community organizations. How long have you lived in Rhode Island? And just tell us a little bit about how you came to be in Cranston.
First of all, I want to thank you to give me this opportunity to talk about me, about why I was running for the school committee. I was born and raised in Haiti. So I moved in the United States in 2009. I've been living in Cranston since then, so I never go anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So I am a mother. I have 3 children going to Cranston School. Do my background, my education. I have a bachelor's degree in communication back in Haiti. But when I moved here, I was to start over. So I went back to school, and I got an associate degree in paralegal.
Excellent.
So actually, I have a bachelor's degree and associate degree. Since 2016, I leading a non-profit organization here in Rhode Island, Hope and Change for Haiti, a non-profit organization that aims to improve the lives of others through the community development and advocacy. So you can see me here doing advocacy work for women's rights, immigrants' rights, children's rights. So it's a little bit me, and I am part of many other organizations in Rhode Island. Like I can name a few. For example, I'm the Assistant Secretary of NAACP. I am part of the Rhode Island Now, and I am a board member of African Alliance of Rhode Island. So just to name a few.
Excellent.
So yes.
No, so you're not only are you working here successfully in Rhode Island, but you're also giving back to the community. You're investing your
Definitely. This is the goal because when I moved here, I was welcomed by so many people, and I felt like this kind of welcome, this kind of what I experienced as a stranger when I came here, and if I'm in a position to give back, I have to. And that's why I'm not a citizen, like a passive citizen. I am active. I try to make a change in whatever I'm doing, and that's why. And change is not easy. So that's why I try to bring my perspective as an immigrant, as a woman of color, black woman, to, I think my vision, my perspective can bring something new in the community.
Right. And it should be clear to everyone at this point, regardless of what town you live in Rhode Island, our education system, which is so important to the future of our children. I guess you would call me Captain Obvious for that. But at the same time, it's important, given the near failure state that exists right now, to introduce new voices which reflect different parts of the community. What part of, generally speaking, what part of Cranston do you live in? And tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. When I first moved, I didn't know anything, just a newcomer, you're an outsider, nothing about politics, so it's not about politics. I didn't know anything about the structure of the school system in Cranston. So I was first in West Cranston. I went for 5 years. I lived in West Cranston, and then when my husband and I, we were to buy our house, and then we buy a house in East Cranston. So, but actually, I have to tell you, we didn't know anything about the difference existing between West and East Cranston. And frankly, I will tell you, if I knew, I would stay in West Cranston. I would, if I knew the differences that was existed between, because this is the one reason that pushed me to run for this school committee. Because when I used to live in West, and then when I come to East, and I see the gap, and my children go to East Cranston, so school, and when I observe how this, the system, the systemic inequalities in our school, and as I experienced for my first son, I experienced a really first year kindergarten that was really impacted our lives. That was really bad, I would say. And then I make a move, and I took my son from the public school and sent it to private school for first grade. And then I said, I shouldn't do that. I should speak up, That was my first move. I was like, I said, my husband, we cannot keep him in the public school with what happened, the bad experience we have with our son. And then after that, I said, no. If you do that, you take your son from public school, you send it to private school because you have the opportunity to do that. And what about all of those parents? What about all of those children who do not have this opportunity to do what you just did? And then that's why I said, okay, I have to be more involved in the community. I have to be a voice. So if I see what is wrong, and then I can speak up. And that's why I was really involved in if you follow last year, there was this lynch school shaming thing that was going on. I was the one who gave an interview to Rhode Island Feature about that. So I went to the school committee meeting. I talked to people since like 2 years to see how we can change how things been done in Cranston about the school.
Right.
And lately, when we have a vacant position, and I have some friends who know how I'm really deeply involved in the education issue for Cranston, mostly for my kids, and they say, hey, this is a spot for you. I know you are so interested in about this issue. Go. And I have two city councilor that invited me, saying, why don't you go for it? And my husband and I said, and yes. And then to see my kids, because the future of my kids is jeopardized if the system stay the way it is. And a lot of other kids, their future are in jeopardy. So I think that's why I was running for the school committee.
No, and you know, one of the purposes of this show, regardless of what your political affiliation is to congratulate people who take that extra step. They move. Well, it's important. They move beyond the comfort of their day-to-day lives or the challenges of their day-to-day lives, and they're willing to invest time in the community. And to your credit, you're well-educated, you're articulate, and you also invested the time before running in being a presence at the Cranston City Schools and being involved in your children's education, but also looking at other issues that challenge Cranston. Now, one of the things that we talked a little bit about offline, we haven't met, but we talked a little bit about offline. You seem to be surprised by the imbalance, if you will, of some of the expenditures between schools. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. That's one of the things. I had the budget last year when they vote for the budget, the school budget, and I went to it and I looked at it. I went to the city council to ask questions about why some school even have, because I'm not an expert in budgeting, and the budget are related deeply with the vision, So if you have a vision for where you have a school, every child have the same opportunity to succeed, so your budget will reflect that. You know what I mean? Right. So that's why I think there is some change that need to be done at the top. So the school committee is the entity that shape the vision for the school. What kind of school we need, what kind of education we need for our children. They are the one who shape that. Right. And, so I say if we need to have change, if we need to have equal opportunity for the children, mostly children of color, children in low-income family, to thrive, we need to change the vision. We need to change the way we do things. Like there's an author, Roland Barthes, said the culture, we need to change the school culture. And the school culture, according to Roland Barthes, is the way we do things around here. So I think the way we do things in Bouncy since, I don't know, since when, but it's a systemic problem. We need to change the way we do things around here. And have a new perspective, have a new voice will make it go easier, will help him facilitate to have it. I know it would not be something easy to change because change takes time. But I think having the opportunity to voice for those who can't and to be at the table, that will make a really great move.
And so you were eagerly looking forward to representing your community. An opportunity arose, I guess. School Board Representative Stephanie Colhane resigned in August, and so nicely enough, an opportunity opened up where you would run for office. You would actually take the next step, make the commitment to the city of Cranston, represent your community, but at the same time represent all the children in Cranston.
Children, definitely, all the children.
Mm-hmm. So, what was your sort of reaction, or tell us a little bit about the process of trying to get elected to this appointment. Now, in this case, because it was a resignation midterm, My understanding is that the Cranston City Council votes on this, and it, or I should say, the Cranston City School Board votes on the appointment. It's not an electoral process. That's per the laws of the city of Cranston. There were a number of other folks competing for the job. I know that in one case, one person was aware of your work and actually stepped aside nicely enough to give you an opportunity to move forward. Tell me a little bit about that.
I was amazed. I was shocked. I have to tell you, because for me that was something I didn't expect. We were like 5 competing for the position. It wasn't really it wasn't an election, I would say, because it was just the 5 members of school committee that will appoint. I don't think they have a precedent where they have a member who resign and to deal with. I think this is the first thing. They don't have a precedent in this situation. So they have to appoint somebody to fill this position. And as I told you when I was started, I have many friends, a community member, city councilors that email me, that say, hey, why don't you apply? Just send your resume to the school chairperson. So this is what I did. I sent my resume, and I have a call, and tell me that, yes, we're going to have this general meetings, and at this meeting, we will ask some questions, and you have to present. You have 5 minutes to present why you want to be appointed for this position, because it wasn't for me an election, really, but I thought it would be mostly an appointment. But as we were 5, and I was the 5th person, so there was 4 persons before me, and one of the person, I don't know, I think that I have to say her name, because she is a hero, she is a hero, and I respect her. I know her, I know her work, and I know she would be a very good advocate for all children in our community, I knew that. So as we were talking, and when she came back, she said, I did something, I don't know if it's allowed, but I did something. When I went there to talk about myself, to say why I will be the best person to fit to this position, and I think about you, and I know what you're doing, and I said, okay, I withdraw myself, and I ask you to appoint me, Aniece Germain. So I was saying, you did that, and I was like, I didn't have any words, and I want to say thank you to Susan Arena. She's the person that did that. So she showed something. That's why even I wrote that in my post. Even I didn't have the position. I have 2 votes, and my opponent has 2 votes, and the chair committee should decide which one he will give his vote. And I wasn't mad, I was happy, because for me, that night, I won greater than the school committee member board. So, because even for myself, I thought maybe I wasn't qualified for the position, but I know somebody knew I was qualified, and myself, deeply in my heart, I knew that my voice will be for all children. And regardless where they live, regardless of the zip code. And I believe deeply that every child deserves equal access to quality education.
Right.
And that's why I was going there to promote that we need to give every child a chance to succeed. And we can do that only when we change our school culture, when we change the way we do things, when we count everybody. So that's why it wasn't a hard process, but it's happened, and I'm not mad, and I feel great.
No,
My husband say, "You feel great, you lose." You feel great. Yeah, I lose, but I feel great because after I have so many people came to me and to tell me you did a great job to defend yourself and to talk. I have school committee member, everyone in the school committee member come down to talk to me to say great job, So.
Well, I mean,
yes.
you one temporary defeat does not define someone's ability, their motivations, their desires, nor does it mean it's the end of the road for the goals that they hope to achieve. It's in your case, I think probably everyone who's met you, including myself, has said, okay, this is a very minor setback. My concern comes from different areas. I've had a number of folks reach out to me, and I don't even live in Cranston. I'm not sure I guess I should feel honored that they would confide in me, but there's been some frustration expressed by the community because of a combination of issues. Number one,
Yes.
first and foremost, they were very impressed with you and your commitment to the process and to the children. I mean, again, you're someone who I don't believe one temporary vote is going to dissuade or deter from working on behalf of the children. I don't believe that for a minute. But they were also frustrated by what some people said to me was clearly the structured nature of the election. And let me elaborate. Now, ultimately, there are 7 members of the school board. One person obviously had resigned, leaving 6. Shockingly, one of the folks attending, I'm not going to name names here, but one of the folks who was a regularly attendee as a school board somehow mysteriously was absent that night, leaving 5. Then, of course, the way the vote was structured was that the first nominee was allowed to be voted for separately. There wasn't a secret vote per se, and that person voted 3, and then I believe there was either 1 or 2 abstentions over the 2 top nominees, which were you and the ultimate winner. Let me make sure I get her name correct. Kristen Heroyan. And she was sworn in on the spot and is now a member of the school board. I'm not here to impugn Ms. Heroyan. I'm here to impugn the process. First of all, it's clear that Cranston suffers from issues revolving around community involvement and diversity. I happen to be a libertarian. I believe in a meritocracy. I've long since stopped thinking that that's possible in Rhode Island. And what's appalling in a moment like this is someone with your great humor, your great spirit, and now you have to talk to someone like me who's a curmudgeon and constantly in a state of annoyment because of the way Rhode Island government is run. More frustrating is, of course, when you find out that Ms. Heroyan is actually a full-time employee of the state of Rhode Island. That's certainly nothing illegal. She's a full-time employee of Capital TV. That's certainly nothing illegal. But she happens to be part of the power structure, if you will, and reports directly to, or indirectly to, I should say, someone who is the Speaker of the House of Rhode Island, and to the entire Cranston power structure, which now seems to transcend political parties, but is merely, a hand-picked group of people. I know a lot about what goes on in Cranston for some reason, and a hand-picked group of people which defies the intent of the creation of boards like this, which is to foster community involvement from if you will, districts reflecting different parts of Cranston. And it is readily apparent to me, in looking at the situation and discussing with people, that is not the case, and the process, I don't think, was transparent or fair. And that's disturbing to me.
I just learned that from you. I didn't know that, but I just think probably the chair thought that she is more qualified than me. I don't know on what criteria he voted for her, But I think she's a passionate person as well for the issue. I think she will do a good job on that. I don't want to go to like the waste issue things, but I think what is evident for everybody in Cranston, they are not ready yet for diversity. So I don't have anything against Mrs. Arian, and I appreciate her. I appreciate her courage to run because she's passionate as well as me for better future for our children, and I believe that. But I do have concern about how the representation of minority in Cranston. So this is an issue, and I think people will learn and start working to, alleviate that. So to bring some change. You know what is happening in a fire department. We have a fire department. There is 0 black people. And I don't think you can really. People can put themselves in somebody's shoe to really understand what the issue women of color, what the issue children of color has to face in this system. And I think it's been the status quo. Everybody. It's not easy to change the status quo. So I think, unfortunately, our city is not ready yet for diversity. There is some a little stride through the police department. So I know I have an issue with the police officer. I am so proud of that. My hope is step by step we can change that. We can have a city that reflects the population, that reflects the community. That's my goal. I think they wasn't ready yet to accept that we have a black woman sitting there. That's my point. But I think we can still have it. And, like when I go to the city or I don't see any black woman there. I don't see any black men there, So it's something we need to work on it. And you know what? That's one reason that that motivates me to run as well. Is like most of the time there is an excuse. There is an excuse. Oh, there was no black. There was no even in the hiring process. Black didn't apply. But so I said, okay, if you don't put yourself there, there is no excuse to say, oh, there wasn't any application. So I said, you have to be able to bring yourself at the table. If they don't give you a seat, they don't give you a seat. And sometimes you might sit on the floor if you don't have a seat. But that's what that's how I will be doing.
So and again, your message of positivity is contagious. I've almost twice now broken into a smile. Anyone knows me that knows how difficult that is.
I am very positive. Yes.
You are. Wow.
I am.
I'm bowled over. You intend to remain active in the school system. You're not going away, are you?
Oh, never. Never go away. I have 3 children. Mm-hmm. A 9 years old, a 7 years old, and a 4 years old. So I'm here for a long time, and I want them to have a great future because as a black boy, I have 3 boys. As a black boy, we know they have to work 3 to 4 times more to be able to succeed. And as a parent, I'm committed to help them to get where they have to be. And I'm committed to my community to help to be a voice for all voiceless. So I'm not going away. I am learning as, I've been here for 10 years. I'm learning the language. I'm learning the social context. I'm learning, So I keep, educate myself. That's one of the goal I have, and continue the work I've been doing as an advocate for women's rights, for immigrants' rights, and children's rights.
Outstanding. Wow. I just, please don't change a thing. Just allow the curmudgeons of society to address these type of injustices. You, as the saying seems to be these days, you keep being you. And
Yes.
I congratulate your hyperactivism, your commitment to your family, your commitment to the community. For a lot of people feel in a lot of communities, the spirit of volunteerism and activism is on life support. I have a feeling that you can simultaneously, or single-handedly, I should say, resuscitate that yourself. I want to thank you for joining us tonight. And again, I hope we get a chance to have a cup of coffee and talk in person so I can maybe get recharged.
I will appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Germain, for joining us tonight. We're going to take a quick break now, but we're going to ask another friend of the show to join us in just a couple of minutes to talk about this same subject. But God bless you, God bless your family, and again, best of luck, and let's have that cup of coffee soon. All right?
Thank you for having me. And as I said, I am really positive, and my favorite word is hope. So I hope that we will have change. Change will be coming in our city, and I am here. I will fight every day to ensure that every child, regardless where they live, regardless where they come from, to have access to equal education. And education is the key to unlock all potential. So, that's my fight. And I thank you so much. Thank you, your audience. And we keep in touch. And anytime I will be available. And you know where to find me.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful evening, and let's talk soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good night now.
Bye-bye.
Wow. We're going to take a quick break right now. Again, I'm as bitter and cynical as they get. When we meet someone like that who, in the face of adversity, simply smiles and continues to fight on. Wow. We're going to take a very quick break right now. We're going to invite someone else on the line in a moment or two to talk about the same subject. And we're going to see where this takes us. In short, Ms. Germain ran for an open position on the Cranston City School Board. Yes, she is a woman of color. She has children in the system. She's been an activist in the system. She's well educated. She's articulate. She's actually everything you would want in the system. The fact that she represents a diverse community that has not been represented seemingly at any level in the civic life of Cranston, to me, is a bonus. She is worthy of the job, in my humble estimation, in and of itself, regardless of where she comes from. The notion that she could represent a community that's been chronically underrepresented is, as they say, just cherry on the sundae. Just makes it even better. And to find that a position like this, at a time like this, would be, if you will, awarded to someone who, while they may be worthy, but someone who is part of the process, part of the state institution, part of the organization that's brought this state to the point it's at these days, is disheartening, to say the best. We're going to take a quick break right now. We are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn free, and we'll be certainly right back. And we are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media broadcasting live on the Worldwide Coalition Network here at the Go Local Live Broadcast Center, deep in the heart of the city and state we so love, Providence, Rhode Island. Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, on the mighty, mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio, and of course the mothership, CoalitionRadio.us, where links to our live stream, our podcast, our Facebook page, our everything pretty much exists. It's the hub, the center of our little universe. Joining me on the line right now is someone, sadly, I haven't had on since what we call lovingly Coalition 1.0 when we were on WPRO AM radio. Of course, he is Jim Vincent. He is head of the Rhode Island Chapter of the NAACP. Jim, thanks for coming on. It's been way too long since we've spoken, but it's great to have you on a night like tonight.
That's right, Pat. It's been way too long, and it's been a couple of years, I think. But
yeah.
I'm glad that I'm on tonight, certainly. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, and now it was brought to my attention. I am not a resident of Cranston, but it was brought to my opportunity. By a couple of people, the story of one Aniece Germain, who,
Yep.
after talking with her, I'm just going to sum up my point, and I'm going to let you get right into it. I know we just took Jim out of, he's at an event right now, but I felt this strongly about it. I don't know that I've met many people in the 20 or so years that I've been involved in Rhode Island politics who is more well qualified for the position she just ran for, is more of a positive force, despite losing, is almost doubly determined to double down on her involvement in the community. And she, at the same time, representing a community that in a city where school boards and city councils exist to represent different portions of the community, I can't think of anyone who is more well qualified and more, at the moment, the best person for the job. I'm not here to challenge or knock the other woman who ultimately won, but if you can, you know her, Ms. Germain, from her involvement in the NAACP. Give me what your background on this, and then let's talk about the fact that the woman who did win is part of what I call the Cranston food chain. But let's be positive to start out with.
Well, Pat, it's so unfortunate because there's nobody of color on that Cranston School Committee, and as you know, Cranston is a very diverse city. It's anywhere between 20%, 26% people of color, depending on which U.S. Census survey you look at. And Aniece is, of course, very, very well qualified. It was a big opportunity for the city of Cranston. I've been a homeowner there for 19 years. I know Aniece very well. She volunteers with the NAACP. She volunteers with the African Alliance. She's the vice president of Hoop and Change for Haiti. And I just know that she would do an excellent job. And for people to be so short-sighted to not see the not only the talent and the ability, but the fact that she would be representing a whole segment of our community, it was almost like incomprehensible.
Right, and it's so well qualified that another local activist, well known to folks in the dyslexic support community, Suzanne Arena, at that night stepped aside, endorsed her, and urged people to support her candidacy. That's how well regarded this woman is, and how much benefit she can bring to the school board. For lack of a, she was so positive that she made me smile. I don't smile, all right? So,
no, you do.
Well, but we're all in agreement, and I had her on, and I didn't want to really get into the political side of this because the point of having her on was to stress her qualifications. The fact that she comes from a community that is diverse, that faces economic challenges, and the fact that she's so involved in that, to me, was just the extra benefit.
Yeah, it was a no-brainer. It was a layup, and for the people on that school committee to not see the value, it's just unbelievable. And I'm very disappointed in my city because here we have a chance to do something very positive. You know, the refrain has always been, well, if there's somebody that comes along that's well qualified, whatever, we definitely will consider it. And here's the proof in the pudding. When somebody does come along that's more than well qualified, what happens? Same old status quo. Cranston again getting a black eye again, along with the Cranston Fire Department, and it's just a bad look. And I live in that city. I've been there for 19 years, so I'm really disappointed in particular.
Now, let's look at the process, because it seems like the process, and I'm going to use the term, I'm not going to ask you to. I certainly didn't ask Ms. Germain. I didn't go down this road with Germain, but I'll use the word rigged. All right? Here you have a committee of 6 out of 7, a potential for a tie vote. Magically, one of the committee members My understanding, and I've called a couple of people who has a very high attendance rate, magically doesn't show up that night, leaving at 3-2. The field is wound down to the two qualified candidates, and as if by magic, as if by pixie dust, up from the heavens comes the call to bring the individual who happens to be a full-time employee and an administrative assistant to the head of Capital TV, the general manager, who happens to be, I'm going to say it, part of the Cranston food chain. Now we've got a group of people in Cranston who defy party affiliation, who are seemingly just intent on controlling the reins of government. Now, listen, I got to say, if they were doing a great job, all right, but I don't think anybody, regardless of political affiliation, can say that the school situation across this state, from the wealthiest towns to the poorest, can in any way resemble even the word adequate.
It was just sad. It's just a missed opportunity, and I'm just so disappointed across the board. I'm still going to continue to work with the city. I'm on the Cranston Diversity Commission, but we really got to change the hearts and minds of people that are elected officials in Cranston. They really seem to be maybe 10 years behind the rest of the state even. So we got to really work hard to kind of make them understand that diversity and inclusion is not a bad word. It's a good word. It's going to bring the city into the 21st century, and that it's not painful. It's actually easy.
Right.
You just put the best people in place, the best people, not the most connected people, but the best people, and you can't go wrong.
Right, and here's my frustration, because ultimately the common cry from the suburbs, if you will, and I think you know what I mean by that, the suburbs is well, people in these fill-in-the-blank, Central Falls, East Cranston, Woonsocket, the south side of Providence, they don't invest in the school district. They're not, their parents, they're seemingly putting these parents to a litmus test that doesn't take place at wealthy suburban school systems, which is the involvement of the parents. There's this constant refrain that in the challenged, marginalized neighborhoods around Rhode Island, that parents simply don't care. You and I know that's absolute balderdash, and here is a woman rising up from the community, relatively new to the state, 10 years, already involved, not looking for appointment or election to do the work, doing the work, and then simply really formalizing her role. I mean, what could put a bigger lie than everything surrounding the institutionalized racism that exists in this state than this woman? She is single-handedly proof of concept that folks in this state are not ready to embrace marginalized communities as an with equal standing at the table, despite the fact that these are the people in charge while the system literally burns. I'm outraged.
Well, Pat, I can't disagree with you as far as Cranston. I mean, there was an excellent chance to have somebody that was well qualified, who was invested in the city, and when the chance was there, they failed to do it. So, I mean, there's no excuses for that. There was a candidate that was well qualified, that was poised to be on that school committee, to diversify that school committee the way the city is diversified. And when you have that chance and you don't do it, it just makes me wonder where you're really coming from.
Right, and I'm looking right now, and at the Cranston Herald, which I printed out, the Cranston Online, from the story reporting the election, not a single mention of this woman's hyper-activism in a variety of communities around the state, as well as the school board. Not a single mention of any of the issues that surrounded what should have been a slam-dunk election. It's disgusting. So and I'll say it. So the racism here is so pervasive that folks, I don't know how you couldn't. You have to have worked overtime not to report on this woman's qualifications.
Well, I'm just sad by the whole thing. As I said, I'm going to continue to work with the city of Cranston. I'm on the Diversity Commission. It's a setback, but it's not going to, deter me from doing everything I can to make the city of Cranston as great as I know and it can be when they decide to be fair and honest about their people.
Well, there you go. Listen, buddy, all I'm asking you is one favor. Raise hell over this, because I don't want to hear anymore, like I said, these subtle innuendos that people from communities of color, communities that are challenged, aren't looking for a seat at the table and aren't looking to get involved, because she is proof positive that all of that is absolute nonsense, has no place in the conversation anymore, and if anyone's getting in the way of progress, it's the established powers. So, That's right,
Pat. You're right. That's code language for we don't want to change. That's all that is.
Right.
We know that.
Yeah. We want to maintain. There's no doubt when you look at city budgets, municipal budgets, state budgets, the number one line item department, if you will, is education in the state. After that, of course, we're tied. You've got pension obligations. But when it comes to the actual business of government in the state, education is the dominant force, the dominant expense. And so as a result, there's a lot of people making a lot of money off of it. There's a lot of power that goes with control over it. And despite the failure of our state to educate our children properly on every level, there doesn't seem, despite the Johns Hopkins report, despite the fact what's going on everywhere, there seems to be little impetus to change, and there seems to be little concern over the consequences of having been in charge while you have this utter collapse of our schools. And what this speaks...
You said it well, Pat. I mean, somebody's benefiting, but we know one thing: it's not the children.
There you go. I mean, I'll leave it at this. I continue to maintain that children in the state happen to be a necessary inconvenience for the educational and infrastructure industry in this state to have to deal with, so they can justify the vast amounts of money they spend, the vast amounts of personal power they exercise, and the vast efforts they go to exclude any stakeholder who represents anything different than their core power team. And that's what needs to change. So, listen, thank you for joining me. This seems to be incredibly underreported. I don't know why we aren't. No,
thank you, Pat, for being the kind of person you are, speaking out on these issues. We thank you for that, and we thank you for being honest and giving us your platform to get that message through. So we thank you, Pat.
All right, buddy. Come on the show soon.
Have a good night.
You too, buddy. Have fun.
See you. Talk to you soon, hopefully.
All right, buddy.
Bye-bye, Pat.
Jim Vincent from the NAACP. Perhaps a little bit more expressive than about the outrage that so many of us feel at this point. I've always enjoyed my conversation with him. I enjoy the work he does. Let's see if we can get a little bit of change and light the fire under a few people in Cranston. Listen, we're going to take one more quick break right now. We are the coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media. We're going to go into the Libertarian Hour a few minutes late. I wanted Jim's voice added to this. But we will be back. Stay tuned. We're going to get Rob Stratton from the Radical Caucus of the Libertarian Party to join us online.